You're listening to 88.7 WLUW Chicago Sound Alliance, recording live from the campus of Loyola University. It's live from the Heartland, featuring Katy, Hogan, and Thom Clark. Today, our guests are journalist Monroe Anderson and Iris Waichler, author on aging. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
Oh, a little bit of Prince to move us on into our more political discussion. It's an acoustic set that he did in front of a live audience in 2004. Sometimes it snows in April. Welcome to our microphone, Monroe Anderson, who spends part of his week in front of many other microphones around town on both WVON and on a regular on the Ben Jarafsky Show, which is now a podcast, weekdays out of the Chicago Sun-Times. Monroe is a veteran journalist and cyber journalist and man about town. Thank you so much for joining us in Live from the Heartland.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, it's always good to have you, Monroe.
Yeah, no, I enjoy coming in and talking with you guys periodically. So.
You know, talk is what we do.
Yeah, right.
So here we are. We're facing another one of those historic moments for mayoral politics in Chicago. We've got unique offerings to choose from in the candidates. What do you think about how we wound up with a Tony and a Lori running against each other?
I was completely surprised.
Really?
I did not expect this at all.
Yeah.
You know, now my thinking early on is that it would be Tony and
Daly?
Susanna.
Oh, Susanna.
Yeah, and then when she started sinking, I thought it was going to be Tony and Daly. Except, actually, I never imagined Daly. I think that his brother ruined the brand forever. You know, with the parking meters. You know, because every time I go to park my car and have to pay those exorbitant parking prices to be on the street. I mean, it's almost now to a point where it's as expensive to park on the street as it is in a garage. You know, it's ridiculous. So,
it is ridiculous.
Yeah. So I think he ruined it for anybody.
Well,
with that name.
I mean, his brother is still serving on the Cook County Commissioners.
Yeah,
and he keeps a low profile.
Right.
And apparently, from people I know who work on the county board, he's a decent co-worker.
Oh yeah, no, and
different from.
Yeah, right, exactly. No.
But there's also an element of when Bill Daley put through his hat in the ring. It's like you want to say who.
Right.
Where's he been?
Right.
What's he been doing for the city in all these
Although
years?
he's the smarter brother. But
except he stopped the count in 2000. I'll never not hold that against him.
Yeah.
He stopped the count in Florida, and Gore went along with it. Why? I'll never know.
Right.
I think he was smart only so far as he never decided to run for office and have to put his hat in the ring quite that way.
And I said the smarter brother.
Stop throwing brickbats at me.
So I want to talk a little bit, and this is kind of insidery stuff, but it's something that people are kicking around, not knowing exactly, despite the polls, how things might turn out on Tuesday. As you look at this thing, do you think endorsements like Willie Wilson going for Lori or newspaper endorsements are what's going to make the difference in voters? Clearly still a lot of undecided voters and what they finally decide to do?
I think the newspapers, not so much. Willie Wilson, I think he has a thumb to put on the scale. It's not going to... In a close race, it probably wouldn't make a difference. But if you are to believe the polls, it's not even going to be a close race.
Yeah.
And first of all, I'm very happy that we have Tony and Lori. I mean, this is just exciting. The idea that a black woman will be the mayor of Chicago.
Right.
So I see that as a win-win, either one. But... okay, this is where my preferences work their ways in. I like the idea of Lori winning because then Tony stays president of Cook County. So we have a black woman mayor. We have a black woman president of Cook County. We have a black woman lieutenant governor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And heading up the Democratic Party of Cook County.
Yeah, and heading up the Democratic. If Tony wins, then we're going to have John Daly as the president of Cook County.
I don't know about that.
I don't know
You don't
either.
think so? Who do you think?
Larry Sufferton.
I think he's
Oh,
he's the placeholder.
Oh,
On
I
that
like
bunch.
Larry. I know.
Yeah, we do too.
Yeah, right. I like Larry. For
But you're right. It could be John Daly as
yeah,
well.
right.
It's-
Exactly.
They've both been there a long time.
Exactly. And the idea of no dailies with power in the area is
What a concept.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I know. The machine will do everything. What's left of it
Right.
will do everything to try to do that. But another thing that I love about where we seem to be going now is the death of the machine as we've known it, the Democratic machine.
Well, I didn't want to get into that minutia, but because I feel like the death of the machine has been happening
Oh, yeah.
since 1983
Yeah.
when Harold, famously said we danced on its grave.
Yeah.
And then, of course, pinstripe patronage came in to replace
Right.
committeeman-related
Right.
patronage,
Right.
which has greatly changed the role of the committeeman over
Right.
the years.
Right.
But I mean, where is the whatever remnants of the machine? Is it walking around government offices and City Hall? Is it doing the Democratic Party? I feel like all the rest of us are now the Democratic Party. Those of us who actually do the groundwork and
Yeah.
find and support candidates. I don't see where the machine is, except in the downtown.
Well, they gave us
pinstripe.
they gave us Daly for 22 years. Mm-hmm. They gave us Rom. So it was there. I mean, they didn't have the power, and it didn't have the power and influence it once did.
Right.
But it was on life support. But now I think, well, it depends. If Tony wins, then it still be sort of a dying breath because no matter what she says, she really is part of the machine.
Okay, so what do you say about all the
She
people
doesn't
flocking?
look like Daly to me. This is one of the things that really bothers me about Tony's the Machine, because she's not a white Irish male.
Yeah,
number one.
Well, that's true, but
And whether or not you feel, because this
Neither
is a
was
judgment
Sawyer.
call,
right.
who you were the
Yeah,
the
Sawyer.
communications
Yeah,
person
Sawyer was not part of the machine. I can assure you. When I was Sawyer's press secretary, I got a visit one day from Dick Mell, and
Oh, how wonderful for you.
right in my office, he came in with a list, and he handed it to me, and he said, "You tell Gene that either he hires our people on this list, or we're going to run one of our guys against him, and he'll be out." And Gene didn't hire anybody on the list, and they ran one of their guys against him, and Gene was out.
A guy named Daly.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the remnants of the traditional machine you can still find in Jeremiah Joyce territory, Michael Madigan territory, even in an odd sort of way in Ed Burke's territory. But I don't think it was the machine necessarily that got rid of John Arena. That was a much more local reaction to what he was trying to do with affordable housing. Pat O'Connor, the floor leader for the current mayor, is in a real battle for survival.
Right.
By a young, feisty organizer, former rap artist. And that's going to be a very close one to watch in the 40th Ward. If Pat O'Connor goes down, I'm not sure what machine we're talking
Oh yeah,
about.
no, I'm saying if it could very well be dead. If Harold was around, he could actually dance on the tombstone.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
near the tombstone.
Do you
And that's a good thing.
Do you think social media is playing a different or bigger role than traditional feet in the ground, precinct work, adding up your plus and minuses?
Yeah, I think it's that. I think it's a new time, a new age.
Yeah.
I mean, the millennials have a completely different approach and viewpoint than we baby boomers do, for example.
How do you think? Talk about that difference. What is it in your view?
I can remember when I was in college at Indiana University back in the 70s, 60s, late 60s. And at that time, I was a college militant, an activist.
Yeah,
And
everybody here was.
Exactly. And the whole talk back then was because of the hippies that they weren't going to be like their parents. We had a brand new world.
Right.
Well, what happened was the hippies grew up, they got married, they got a family, and they weren't exactly like their parents, but they were pretty much like their parents. With these kids now, and this isn't all of them, but because they grew up in a much
Some of us
more-
stayed hippies.
Yeah, I know you guys
Got
did.
deeper.
Yeah,
in the
I know.
hippie.
I know.
Some of us dug hippie down deep, baby.
No. This is what I love about you guys is that you stayed true to the cause, but as there aren't many of you. A lot of folks went the other way. Like some of the people I knew.
And they're very quiet, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. And so but these kids, they've grown up in a truly mixed integrated
Right.
lifestyle. They've grown up on rap music, which has been a huge influence on them.
They've grown up without gay and
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
exactly.
They're way
Without
more
that-
comfortable with.
Exactly. No, my older son Scott graduated from Whitney Young in 2001, and in the year 2000 he had his prom. And so, they have the pictures of the prom and what have you. And they're showing the pictures to his mother, Joyce. And she says, that's really nice that one of their friends and his buddy went together to the prom because they didn't have dates. And my son says,
That is their date.
Exactly, right. And he's gay, and that's his date.
Right.
And this was a good friend of his,
Right. Right.
So, I mean, they didn't have those biases.
So let's stop putting down the baby boomers. We did open up the door to change.
Oh, yeah.
And part of it was about gender equality. Part of it was about allowing for gays to live, their lives safely. But it all started with the civil rights movement and into the anti-war movement.
Right. Oh, yeah. When I was press secretary, this is something else. When I was press secretary, Mayor Sawyer had a meeting with the gay activists, the community, about having an equal rights bill in City Hall. I forget the title of it, but
Human rights?
Yeah, human rights bill. And they came and were pitching him on this, lobbying him on this. Same time, there were black ministers
Oh yeah.
out in the community who were staunchly against this.
Right. Of course.
And so John Henry was one of the people at the meeting. He was a good friend of mine. When they left, I said to Sawyer, we really should pass this bill. And he says, I know, but he said, these black ministers, he said, they really don't like this, and and that's my constituency. And I said to him, it's the right thing to do. He said, just like we were discriminated against, now they're being discriminated against. And I don't know whether there were other factors, but he changed his mind and he signed the bill.
Right on.
Yeah.
Good work, Monroe.
Right.
Look, we have too many questions for you.
Okay, all right. Okay.
So let's ask a couple before we have to welcome our second guest. The black population loss and the upcoming census in Chicago. Can we get a fair and honest census done with this guy in D.C.? And what will be the implications of the 2020 census, given that we've got a redistricting coming right on its heels?
Oh, I know. It's
a big deal.
It's a big deal, and it's not good news for Chicago. But this is the problem is people moved to Chicago during the Great Migration because there were all these opportunities. You had the the slaughterhouses and you had the
Railroads.
mills and the railroads, etc. They're leaving now because there's
For
no
lack of a-
opportunity.
That's
There
right.
no, and plus the shooting is not helping.
violence.
Yeah, the
Right.
violence. I mean, who wants to live someplace where you might accidentally get shot?
Right, right.
But the violence is a symptom of no opportunity.
Amen.
You know, if these kids had jobs to go to instead of just dealing drugs or something like that, then you would not have it.
Yeah. Do you have any special race of the runoffs in the aldermanic field that you're paying attention to, or are you more concentrated on mayoral?
I'm concentrated on mainly Trump. That's what I mean. I have a show on WVON. Mark Wallace. It migrated from WCPT to WVON. Mark Wallace show segment called Monroe Monday, where I talked when it was on CPT. I talked about Trump, and more Trump.
Yeah. Okay, you've just said his name more times than we allow in one show.
Okay, yeah, right.
So you cannot say it anymore.
Okay, I will not. Yeah, right, exactly. I there are people that way. I'm not one of them. I use it as a verb even. When I'm arguing
we've been
with people,
trumped.
No,
Yes.
I say you trumping when people are lying. And I tell them you're trumping.
Tom likes the word mendacity. Yeah. It's a little more.
I want to find out about one of your old stomping grounds. There was news this week of new investors with the Sun-Times, which suggests labor, which was an original investor of the new Sun-Times, may not have as big a role.
Right.
Without getting into the new investors so much, how do you think your old workplace, the Sun-Times, is doing these
Well,
days?
I never actually worked there.
Well, you were a columnist.
Yeah, right. I did from home. I wrote the column out of my library. And I think I went in there 4 times during the entire year and a half.
There you go.
I'm a Tribune person. I was at the Tribune for 10 and a half years.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, both of them, I mean, newspapers are just in bad shape, period. You know, this the internet has just wiped them out. To do Ben's show is out of the Sun-Times. And their new offices, I mean, they've been there a year, but just, I mean, it doesn't even, first of all, you have to buzz in.
Mm-hmm.
And by buzz in, I mean you have to spell out the name Sun-Times on the
God, that's embarrassing.
The keypad, yeah. And then somebody calls down to you. So you're talking to them through an intercom. Then you go in and you go up to the 3rd floor, take the elevator to the 3rd floor, and then you go in, and somewhere around there is a newsroom, which is not very large at all.
Yeah.
It's probably about, I guess, about a quarter the size of the old Sun-Times newsroom.
Sure. You
know, and the Tribune is not much better. I have not physically been to the Tribune, but I know for one thing they're not in the Tribune building anymore. It's becoming condos.
So I guess we have to ask you, since you said that name so many times, who are you most liking going into the 2020 election on the Democratic side?
I'm undecided because there's so many 20, but I'm really, the more I see of him, the more I'm beginning to like Mayor Pete.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Buttigieg.
Oh, yeah, right,
Mr.
exactly.
Buttigieg.
Yeah, right, exactly. Now, I'm really impressed with the way he responds to things, what he knows. You know, I know Beto is the darling of a lot of people. And, you know, I suspect, I don't know for sure, but I suspect he's more sizzle than he is steak.
So what about a Biden-Harris ticket?
You know, I don't think Biden's going to make it. Okay. I think, you know, this is the problem. Yeah, and someone who will be 72 in a couple of weeks, or April 6th, so whenever that is. But soon.
This week.
Yeah, right, exactly. I'm old, and I think Biden is too old.
Yeah.
Like, I think Trump is too old.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we need another generation and new energy, new perspective.
So we have to say goodbye at this moment because we've got our second guest waiting patiently to come on, Monroe Anderson. It's always a pleasure to have you. I think, given what you just expressed, we're going to give you homework. And during the primary season, next winter and spring, we're going to come back with, with the the sheet, the horse race sheet.
Oh yeah, no, I shouldn't be distracted.
The racing form.
By then, he who shall go unnamed won't be in office by that time, or be on his way out of office.
On his way out is your lips to God.
Yeah, right, exactly.
God's ears,
right, exactly.
Thank you, Monroe Anderson, and looking forward to seeing you again soon.
Okay.
You're listening to Live from the Heartland on WLUW 88.7 FM. Please like us on Facebook.